Thank you, John. Quick follow-up. You have talked about raising taxes on the wealthiest, repealing the income taxes, the cuts that you voted against. Besides the rich, are there other sources of revenue that you would seek? Would that be sufficient? And connected with that, with a 64-to-1 and a 65-to-1 vote, it strikes me that you have an uphill battle making this point. And how do you feel about doing
Sure. A couple of things. One, yes, first of all, income taxes, undoing those cuts does affect everybody who pays income taxes, which is most people. It affects a little bit the people near the lower end, and it affects the people at the top a lot. That's the bottom line thing, that we should restore that, and we should put 2 new tax brackets at the top. That raises a lot of money, more than the $2 billion can raise $4 billion or more. I'm open to taxes that address certain other social goods, trying to change behavior, carbon taxes and so on, though those tend to be regressive taxes. We've got to watch how much we do it. How do we change that? First of all, I think every one of the DFL candidates is now saying they're willing to raise taxes. Some of them are even willing to undo those cuts of 10 years ago. And it's not that hard. I'm disappointed in the political process how much of a lemon behavior there is. We follow the leader. We follow the leader. Having said that, as governor, and spelling out the agenda and saying here's why and giving cover for people, I'm confident we can pass it. I know we can pass it.
Question 3, Alex.
My name is Alice Evanson. I'm a Take Action Minnesota leader from South Minneapolis. I believe that racism is not just an issue of individual prejudice. Racism is the result of ongoing inequities in our systems and institutions. These inequities are passed down from generation to generation. As it states in the reNEW Minnesota Vision, we commit to eradicating racism in our society today and to undoing the continued impacts of past racism. Question: what will you do as a candidate for governor to step away from tapping into people's fear and playing on the divisions in our community about race? And what is your plan to talk about race in a way that builds community and hope?
2.5 minutes. Can't even remember all the parts of the question. In terms of the institutional stuff, first of all, it's not just institutions, it's also our history, which has created the unfair playing field, even if we didn't have institutional racism now. It's also the laws that still cause the problems, and the unfair application of the laws, and the discrimination and the enforcement of that. So I think it's all those things that have to be addressed. I've been very clear about my belief we have to do that. In terms of the talking about it and changing attitudes, I think it's very important that we try and, the vision, and I put it in my pocket. I don't carry it every day since September 26th. But I read this thing, and this is the copy I had that day, and I underlined that every person, the inherent worth and dignity of every person is recognized without exception. And I think we have to mean that, and we don't push people off the bus. And the example I've been using with that is healthcare and covering people. In Washington, I like a lot of the things they're trying to do, but when President Obama made a decision, I think was based on pragmatism, what he thought was doable, what we could accomplish, and starts there. He decided there's no way we could sell politically the concept that people who are in the country illegally are going to be covered for health care. He made that decision. He speaks to a joint session of Congress, somebody else, you lie. Next day, his administration steps back and goes, oh, don't worry. Not only are they not going to be allowed to participate, in the public option, they're not going to even be allowed to buy health care through the private sector, through the insurance exchange that they're setting up. That's wrong. If you start from the principle, we're going to cover everyone, and here's how I talk about the issue, because our Minnesota health plan does it that way. And that is, it covers everybody. And when you get to the controversial thing, how are you going to deal with those people who are undocumented? You talk about, well, you know what's really politically unrealistic, what's politically unsaleable. It's the concept that people are working in our meat packing plants, people are handing out our foods at fast food joints, people who are working with our food system might have infectious diseases and we're not going to treat them, that's politically unrealistic. And it's politically unrealistic to say we're going to wait until someone needs emergency room care. We start talking about how we're in this together. We're a society together. That's how you change those attitudes.
All right, we applaud your diligence.
She's the enforcer.
That's right. Well, I'm gonna do a follow-up to that because I really appreciate how you zeroed in and gave a great example of how a policy actually that institutionalizes racism. As governor, you're going to have a fairly powerful office. It's going to be fairly prominent. What are you going to actually champion as governor that starts breaking down those institutional racism areas?
Well, in terms of, there are a lot of things, now I only have 1 minute for this one.
Right.
There are a lot of things that we have to champion to do that. First of all, in terms of hiring, in terms of policies for the agencies. It's not just making sure you have the right people in the administration, is advising and hiring, commissioner level and lower levels and so on. It's also making sure the policies follow through. The Human Rights Department being more aggressive in its work. Department of Transportation, when Hire comes out and points out how even if they follow their affirmative hiring goals of, 3% to 10%, even if they hire at the top end of that, the 10% of their highest goal, they're not making up for past discrimination. They're not even keeping up with the percentage of the population of people of color right now. And we have to have goals, and we have to have directives, and we have to have the leadership to say this matters. It has to matter because, I think we shouldn't need Hire out there to hold us accountable because the state should be doing that. And we need it because the state is not doing that.
Great follow-up. Denny?